And hello YouTube, this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'm here on a brand new video for tutorials with GS. Today's tutorial, we're going to be showing you how to code in Java, and this is actually going to be a new series that I'm starting for Java tutorials and showing you how to program in it, and basically giving you tutorials on just the basics. We're going to be going to some more intermediate stuff later, but for now, just starting off the series, we're going to start basics. So for those of you who are new to Java and you want to start learning, this is a great series for you. We're also going to be giving you some little exercises or like little, assignments if you want to call them. Not going to be very big at the end of each video to test to see if you understand everything and to sort of put those skills that I've taught you to test. So for those of you who are my subscribers and usually you see my other videos about software tutorials on how to video edit, music edit, audio editing, picture editing, all that other stuff. I'm going to be still doing those videos, but I'm just going to add this to the mix right now because I've been wanting to do this for quite some time now. I've been wanting to teach people how to code in Java, and it's something that's I'm not only doing this because I'm also going to be majoring in this field at university right now. I am getting a degree in software development, but also because it's become rather important. I mean, so many things and so many technological things in our world now are all coded, and Java is one of the prime examples of where a lot of things are being coded in today. So if you're interested in the subject, hopefully you'll learn something. And let's go get started. Now, to code in Java, you're going to need an IDE. Some people do still code on Notepad, which it's still doable today. Some people still do it, but most people are using an IDE, which basically helps you code and makes it a lot easier. So there are two popular IDEs. You have Netbeans, which I'm going to be using today, and there's also Eclipse, which several people also use. You can pick which one you want. I mean, the coding is going to be relatively the same. It's going to be the same. The coding will be the same because they both use Java code. So if you want to use Eclipse, you can use that. If you want to use Netbeans, you can use that. I'm using Netbeans because that's what I've been using ever since I started taking programming classes. So I'm going to leave download links to both of those programs in the description below. You can choose which one you want to use, but we're going to be using Netbeans. And once you have it downloaded and installed, it's fairly easy to download and install. The first step in starting to code is creating a project. So I already have several projects here that I've been working on, well, in the past. But just ignore this. Your list is probably going to be empty. But to create a new project, we're going to go to File, New Project, and make sure you click Java, and then make sure you click Java Application. Click Next, and then we're gonna go ahead and name this Java Tutorials, and uncheck Create Main Class because we're gonna be creating our own classes, and go ahead and click Finish. And this is basically just going to create your project where we can then start adding our code to. Now I'm going to be creating a package. You don't need to create a package. I'm just going to be doing it because I'm going to be using this project for a lot of my other Java tutorials. So we're just going to tutorial 1. Like I said, you don't need to create a package. I'm just doing it for my purposes. Now if you have a package created, or if you don't have a package created, what you're going to be doing is right clicking your project, going to New, and clicking Java class. If you have a package created, then just click on your package, New, Java class. But the same window will pop up for you. And this class we're going to be naming About Me. Now basically what a class is, it's basically just something where you put your code in. A package is just something to organize yourself with. But a class is basically the main building block of your code. If you don't have a class, you can't do anything. And when you're naming a class, you cannot have spaces, you cannot have some other characters, but the rule, or well, not the rule, but it's a convention. It's Java conventions, and people usually follow these things. Whenever you're naming a class and it's 2 words or more, you want to have the first letter of the first word capitalized, and then the second letter of the second word capitalized, and so on. If it's only 1 word, then obviously just capitalize the first one. But that's Java conventions. We're going to be naming our class About Me. So after you've done that, just go ahead and click finish, and that will create a class for us. Now you're going to see a bunch of stuff here. These things right here in gray are just comments. You can go ahead and delete them. They're not very important at all. So if you do want to make a comment though, for those of you who are wondering, you just type in double slashes and you can type comments if you are into commenting your code, which is a good practice, but we're not going to be doing it in this tutorial or any tutorial really, because I'm going to be explaining it to you through the video obviously. So commenting is good, but for our purpose we're not going to do it. So what does all this mean here? Once you've created your class, you can start coding, but you want to understand some of these things first. Obviously, this right here is just telling us that this class is part of this package, tutorial 1. For some of you who didn't create a package, you're not even going to see this. All you're basically going to see is this, which is fine. Now, public class about me. What this means, public means that this class is going to be able to be accessed. It can be accessed by all the other classes that you create. So if you're creating 2 or 3 classes, a lot of programmers have lots of classes to do different things. So if you have a method, or if you have something in this class that calculates area, and you want another class to use that method, then you want to make sure this class is set to public. That way another class can use everything that's in here. So that's what public means. There are several other ways to define a class, such as private or protected, but that's not too important right now. We're going to go over that in other tutorials. Right now, just know that to define a class, you can put public in front of it, and usually that's what you want to do. So that's what this portion means. Class basically just means it's just defining what this is. It's a class. And about me is the name of the class. Now, be aware that if you change this class name here, it's going to give you a red line, which is basically an error. If you add letters, it's going to give you an error. And the reason being is because this class name has to match your file over here. It has to match your class file name in your project. If it doesn't match, you're going to get an error. So when you're naming classes, make sure that make sure your names match. Now the next thing are these curly braces. What do these mean? I like to think of them just as borders. They're just borders for your code. So everything that is going to be in this class is going to be within these borders, these curly braces. That's what they're called, curly braces. So just think of them as borders. You always need to have them whenever you're declaring a class. You need to have one set, an opening curly and a closed curly. So all of your code goes in here. Now you can start to write code here, which is fine, right? You can write a bunch of code here and that's fine. But if you want to run that code, if you want to execute that code, if you want it to actually do something, then you have to have this statement: public static void main parentheses string brackets args, and then another curly brace. So what does all this mean? For now, it's not very important at all. You don't need to know what this means here. The main thing you do need to understand, though, is that if you have this line with these 2 curly braces, that means everything in this block of code here is going to be executed. You can run this code and it will actually do something. So if you don't have this line, or if you write code outside of these borders, these curly braces, that code is not going to run. So a lot of times what a lot of professors will make you do in the very early stages of coding, and we're not going to do it because I never thought it was necessary. But a lot of professors will tell you to do is to create a class. So our class is about me, and then they'll tell you to create a test class, which will be called about me test class. And you'll basically use your main class here to get all your building blocks. Like if you wanted to calculate area, you would write the code in your main class here about how to calculate the area, and then in your test class you will basically put the method in and it will actually execute it. But if you're new to Java, it can be a bit confusing, so don't worry about that. If someone has told you about a test class, don't worry about it. We may go over it in the future, but just be aware that this statement right here basically means everything in between these curly braces is code that can be executed. So let's go ahead and get started. we're going to start with a very basic example. It's a very traditional and classic example. I'm sure many of you already know where this is going. It's the Hello World example, but we're not going to spend too much time on it because I kind of want to go a little more deeper into, the basics rather than just going Hello World. I mean, Hello World is something like many people already know how to do. If you don't know what it is, you're going to see right now. But hopefully you're following along so far. So if you Hello World is basically just system system dot out dot print. And what this is saying is that system.out is saying I want the system to give me an output. I want something to appear on the screen. And what print is saying is that I want some text to appear on the screen. And when you put a parenthesis, you can then put something in the parenthesis that you want to be outputted on the screen, or that you want to be printed. What do you want to be printed? Well, we're just going to type in hello world like that. And that's basically it. If you ever want to print something on the screen and you want it to be text, then you have to put quotation marks. Quotation marks means that it's text, just ordinary text that is going to appear. It's just words that are going to appear on the screen. Now you see there's a red line underneath here, and that means that there's something missing. And what's missing is a semicolon at the end. What Java basically, why is a semicolon so important? Because Java basically uses it to identify when a statement or when a piece of code has been executed. For example, when we put a semicolon here, Java knows, okay, what do I need to do? I need to basically print out something, and this something has to have the text hello world. When it comes to the semicolon, it knows, okay, I have completed this task, I can move on to the next line. Because the semicolon is there, you could pretty much code like this, right? You could just code like that, and that would be fine. You can do it on different lines. And the reason why this is okay is because Java does not care for white space. It only cares for the semicolon. Once it sees a semicolon, it knows it can move on to the next action. But you don't want to do that. Potentially, what this is considered is it's considered to be messy code. So just try to work line by line. For longer lines that extend, pretty far to the right, you may want to go on to the next line. But for now, we're going to be working with the basic, simple stuff. So we're just going to work on one line. So that's basically it for Hello World. If we were to run this, right-click, run file, what would you get? In our run window here, we would get Hello World, build successful, total time 1 second. So we get the output Hello World, exclamation mark. Now, one thing that you can also do is right now this is printing on one line. All this is printing on one line just. If you want to print this on a new line, just add the word ln after print, and this basically means print new line. If we were to run this again, we would basically get Hello World on a whole new line, which makes it look a lot neater. So from now on, we're just going to be using print new line. System.out.print is only used for very specific cases, but most of the time everyone uses print ln. So that prints in a new line. So that's pretty much the classic traditional Hello World example. Let's go ahead and go a little deeper into that. One thing that you can do is, say we wanted to print this several times. Oops, what was that? I just did something. Say we wanted to print this several times. So we can also print this 3 times in a row. So now that we have that, we run the file, we will get hello world, hello world, hello world on 3 different lines, which is fine. Now, this can potentially make your code very repetitive, especially here. I mean, if for example, if you're coding something right now and you're starting to code here, and then you add some more code in the middle, right? And then you come to this line and you say, okay, I want something to appear again. I want hello world to appear again. Well, you're gonna have to go up and copy and paste, or if you're not gonna copy and paste, then you're pretty much gonna have to write it all out again. You have to write out system.out.print, whatever, right? And you're gonna have to type in hello world again. Well, instead of having to continuously write hello world, hello world, hello world, an easier way to do it is to store this hello world in a variable. And when you store it in a variable, you can then just place the variable within these parentheses and it will print out. So for example, say I have a line like, congratulations, you have gained a blue diamond, right? And say I want this line to appear like in different sections of my code. I don't constantly want to write out congratulations, you have earned a blue diamond, or congratulations, you have earned a red diamond. I don't want to constantly write that out. So an easy way to do that is just to store it in a variable. And how are we going to store it into a variable? Well, you basically need to take this text and put it into something. And this something is going to be a variable. Now for text, the variable we're going to be using is a string variable. This is a string variable, and we're going to name our string variable, let's just name it world, and put a semicolon. What we've essentially done now is we have declared a variable. We have declared the variable called world, and we have declared it of the type string. So variable world of type string. String is basically the variable that you use for words, for text. If you want to store words or store any piece of text, you want to use the variable string. There are other variables like int, long, short, byte, boolean. There's other variables. We're going to be going over some of those in later tutorials because I kind of want to keep the topics of these tutorials very concise and, sort of on the same topic so that at the end of the video you guys can put these practices to test in one of your own small little exercise programs. So what do we need to do in order to use this variable? If we were to just place this world now in these parentheses, it's not going to print anything because world does not have anything stored into it. Right now we've just declared the variable. How do we store something in it? How do we assign it something? Well, we're just going to press equal, and then we're going to type in quotation marks, hello world, like that, and make sure to add your semicolon at the end. Now whenever you want to put text in, always use quotation marks, obviously, right? If you don't put quotation marks in, then it's not going to work. But now that we have this stored, you want to think of it like this. Don't think world equals hello world, because later on when we're going to go into numbers, you don't want to think of it like, oh, my number equals to 10, because when you go into calculations, you'll see that it can get a bit confusing. So think of it like this. This piece is being stored into this piece. So hello world, this piece of text is being stored into the variable world. That's how you want to think of it when you're declaring and assigning variables. And that is the proper way of thinking of it. So hopefully that's clear. Now that we have declared a variable with hello world, what we can now do is we can erase this text and we can just type in world. Like so. Now if we were to run this, run file, we would get the same thing. So now whenever you wanna system.out.println your text, you don't need to type out hello world again, or you don't need to type out this long sentence that you have. All you need to do is type out world. So it makes it a lot easier, it makes your code look a lot neater and a lot more organized, which is very important when you have lots of lines of codes you're working with. You want to be as neat as possible because it can get confusing. So now that we have that, I'm just going to go ahead and add an empty line here. And to add an empty line or a blank line, you just type in, and if you see this menu right here, it basically gives you a list of all the different methods that system.out has. You can use this method if you want, but you can use this menu if you want to find different methods. For example, if we were to look for println, there it is. Println is right here, and you can click it and press enter. But if you know the methods, then you don't need to look on the list. You can just start typing it out. So this right here is going to give us an empty line. There's nothing inside. There's no argument in the parentheses, so it's going to give us an empty line. So hopefully you understand the concept of system.out println. Hopefully you understand the concept of a string variable and how to store something into a variable. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to make this a little more interesting. Say I wanted to say system.out.println, and say I wanted to say hello, my name is Damien with a period, which is fine. Or this is basically the same thing as saying hello world. If we were to run this, we would get hello world, hello world, hello world. We would get our blank line, and then we would get hello, my name is Damien, right? But say we don't want to, like, say we want to make our code neater, right? Say we want to store our name into a variable. We can do that. We can go back up here, string, because we're going to be storing our name into a variable, and we're going to go my name equals, and then Damien, like that. Now, when you're naming variables, there's also conventional rules, not rules, because you don't need to follow the rules, but they're like commandments that people follow, if you want to call it that. I highly recommend you do follow them because it makes your code look better. When you're naming variables, once again, if you have one word only, you want to do all lowercase. If you have two words, you want to have the first word all lowercase and the second word the first letter uppercase, like that. So if you wanted to say something like my house, it would be like this. Or my house key, it would be like this, my house key. So that's one of the other conventions that you want to get used to. But now that we have that, we can now do something like this. Let's just go again, system.out.println, and now we can do hello, my name is, and now we can put our variable in. And to put our variable in, make sure you put a space here, because what you're going to need to do is put a plus sign and then the name of your variable, which is my name. Now, what's actually happening here? What's happening here is that we're telling the system to print out something, and we're telling the system to print out the words hello, my name is. And then we're saying we also want to add on, after this has been printed out, we want to add on a variable. And our variable we want to add on is our string variable. And our string variable has the word Damien stored in it. So what this is saying is I want the system to print out this piece of text, and I want it to print out whatever is stored in the my name string variable. Now, the reason why I want to put a space here is because this plus sign here does not mean space. It just means add on this. It basically means add on whatever's coming after the plus sign. So you want to make sure you add a space after my name is, because if not, then your name here is basically going to like come right after the word is, and it's going to look like one word. What you can also do is put a space here. Oops. Put a space here if you want, and then you don't need to put a space here. But you know, you're not always gonna, maybe you want to start your sentence with your name, so then the space wouldn't be relevant. So that's why we put a space here. And we want to add a period at the end. We would do plus again and just put the period like that. Now if we were to run this, we should get the same result. Hello, my name is Damien. The same thing. So there's that. That's how you basically use your variables within printing out something. So now that you have that learned, let's go ahead and go a little further with this. Say we wanted to say my age, right? So you could say system.out.println, and you could say, and I am 20 years old, right? So if we were to run this, and I'm 20 years old, that's fine. But say we wanted to get a variable again. Say we want to get a variable that stores our age. Now, yes, you can do string again, and you could put my age, right? And you could put 20 like that. That would be fine. However, whenever you're working with numbers, it's generally best to stick with integer. And here is our next data type, our next type of variable, which is an int. An int basically stands for integer. It basically holds a number. Now, there are other variables that hold numbers like short or long or byte, but also double and float. But we're going to be going over a lot of these in the next video, where we're going to be going over the different variable types and how to convert different variable types into other variable types. And we're doing some math stuff too. But for this tutorial, just know that int is going to be used for a number. And the reason why we have so many different types of variables like float and short and long is because each of these different variable types can hold a range of numbers. For example, int can hold up to a very large number. But for example, byte can only hold up to 127 and can only go as low as -128. Long and short can go a little higher, and float and int and double, they can go really high. So each of these different variable types can only hold up to a certain number. And we're going to go more into that into detail in later tutorials, but for now we're just going to go ahead and use int. So if we want to store our age, we would do my age and just type 20. You don't need to put quotation marks around this because this is not text. If it was text or words, you would put quotation marks. But int is just a number. You can leave it. In fact, if you were to put quotation marks around it, you get an error. So whenever you want to store a number into an int, just keep it as a number. Don't add anything on. So now that we have this, we can actually go system.out.println, and we could say, and I am, oops, missed our quotation mark, and I am, space, go ahead and put a plus, my age, let's add a period, and our semicolon. And what did we do wrong here? Oh, we forgot a plus sign. Now if we run this, we get, hello, my name is Damien, and I'm 20. We forgot years old, but we can just do it. Years old. And if we run, we get the same thing. And as you see, we forgot a space there, so as you see right here, here's a perfect example when you don't put a space. It basically puts it all together. So you want to put a space before this, and we get the same thing. So you want to get into the habit of using variables because it is going to be very important in the future and in future tutorials. So, I mean, this is fine for now, but for your exercise I'm going to be giving you now, and for future tutorials we are going to be working with variables, so make sure that you get into the habit of using variables. So that's pretty much it for this tutorial. Hopefully you understood, the concepts behind it. This tutorial was sort of only to introduce the basics to you, to introduce the purpose of a semicolon, purpose of brackets, the meaning of this right here, to sort of give you an understanding of classes, about the system.out, how to print out things onto the console. This is called the console, by the way, if you didn't know. The console basically holds everything that you're printing out. And hopefully understood the what a variable is, how you can store things into a variable. And we've gone over two different variable types, the string variable, which holds text, and the int variable, which holds numbers. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you understood everything. If you have any questions or any comments or any concerns, if you're stuck on something, confused on something, something isn't working for you, you can leave it in the comments, and I'll definitely try my best to give you the answer to it. But what I want you guys to do for me now is to try to see if you can have in your own Java program, see if you can achieve the following. Hello, my name is, and I am years old. And then the second line, comment here, and the second line I want you to say, my favorite color is, and then your favorite color. So this is what your output should say. If you can achieve something like this in your output window here, then you are good to go for the next tutorial, if you understand this concept. So go ahead and try it if you want. You don't need to do it, but if you want to, I would highly recommend you try to code this yourself in your own IDE, in your own class. And if you followed the tutorial along with me, you could use the same class. If you want to create a new class, though, be aware you cannot name the class the same thing. You'd have to name it something else. And if you have no idea how to do this right now, I'll give you some tips. What you're essentially going to have to do is you're going to have to create a variable for your name, like we did up here, and you're going to have to create a variable for your age like we did up here, but you're also going to have to create another variable then for your favorite color. So half of the assignment, I guess you can call it, half of the exercise is already done here for you. All you really have to do is find out how can you have this line, how can you put this line and this line together? How can you have this line and this line all in the same line? How can you do that? And what you also need to figure out is how can I create another variable with my favorite color in it. Go ahead and try it out if you want. And if you want to share your results in the comments, that'd be a cool little thing we could do. And we'll see what everyone's favorite color is and what everyone's name is. I guess if you want to do that. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. And in the next episode, in the next video, I'll show you my result for this, and I'll show you how I coded this so you can sort of compare it to yours. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. And like I said, any questions in the comments. And next tutorial, we're going to be going over some of the other variable types, and we're actually going to be going into some math a little bit, showing you how to calculate some things and going into the idea of assigning things to variables some more. And it's gonna be fun, guys. Alright, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching, and I hope this video helped you out in any way. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. It'll really help me out. If you didn't like it, you can leave a comment as well, giving some feedback. If you have any other comments or questions, please leave them in the comments as well, and I'll do my best to answer them. I usually respond to comments within 24 to 48 hours, depending on your question and depending on how busy I am. I have plenty of other content on my channel about different software tutorials and how-to videos, so if you're interested in that type of stuff, check it out. And if you like what you're seeing, you can subscribe too. Really appreciate it. You can also check out my other channels and social media as shown on the screen right now. And with that, thank you so much, everyone. And this is GSmaniamsmart, and I'll be back sooner than you think. Don't go anywhere.